Mom, we're going to start with you because I think your story will make us travel a little bit. Take us on a trip.
Yeah, let's have fun now.
Yes.
Is that a short video, maybe?
Yeah, we have a video.
Hopefully.
The video's not ready, so maybe you can tell us a little bit about
okay, so
who you are.
I'm an entrepreneur. I run a sports marketing company for 15 years, and I'm also a sailor. I try to sail at the top level, offshore single-handed sailing, what the crazy French do. And I started 4 years ago a campaign named Use It Again to renovate a legendary Trimaran, the former Ellen MacArthur's Trimaran, with which she broke the round-the-world record single-handed. That was in 2005. Is the video ready now?
Ready. It's
not
not ready.
Yet. Okay.
So maybe you can tell us about that Trimaran was going to be.
Yes. So this Trimaran was abandoned. It was abandoned on a wharf in Brest, the city of Brest in Brittany, and we decided we had in mind that it was not possible to have such a legendary boat abandoned on a wharf. 9 tons of carbon left, and no one was interested, more or less. So after 20 years in the sailing industry, I sailed in different seas. I met a lot of trash in the seas, in the oceans, and we must use again and again everything we use daily. So we decided that it was not possible to continue in this linear economy, and we were much interested in circular economy. So this boat was abandoned, and we decided to invest in her and said, okay, that was a fantastic boat 15 years ago, and this boat deserves to sail again. And I'm going to sail at the top level with this boat again, using existing materials, reusing as much as possible sails, and many parts, many spare parts, and we had to find solutions, not to buy new sails, not to buy new parts, not to buy new engine, etc., because everything was in a bad state. So that was the origin and the motivation of this project, showing that circular economy could serve performance.
I'm going to try it one more time. Do we have that video? No, we don't.
Not yet.
All right. Just have to imagine we're sailing all together on a boat somewhere with lots of trash everywhere. Pretty easy, right? Matina, maybe you want to just tell us what you do, who you are, and how passionately you do it.
Okay, thank you very much. So my name is Matina. I'm 22 years old, and I'm the co-founder and CEO of Sayna, which is a digital school based in Madagascar. So I was born in Ivory Coast, then grew up in Madagascar, and then studied in France. And 2 years ago, I decided to come back to Madagascar because I wanted to shape the future of education and the future of work. So that's the reason why I'm doing what I'm doing. And yet, we all know the educational system. You go to school, you pay. Or if you have enough chance, you don't pay because you have a good public sector, or you have the what that we call the sandwich class course, so part-time school and part-time at the company. Yet this educational system is not adapted to the countries like Madagascar, where there's 90% of population who live under the poverty line. So with that thing, I decided to go find those people who live under the poverty line. And I launched Sayna, which is an innovative digital school where we source, we train, and we place the best digital African talent of tomorrow. So to respond to the increased digital need of your companies, of the world. That's our dream. And I always thought that there is a situation I can't accept. And the situation is that on the other side of the world, we have the extreme poverty. And on the other side of the world, we have Paris, digital revolution like we've never seen in the world. And one is experiencing a big shortage of digital talent. And another side of the world, we are dying slowly because of unemployment. And I strongly believe that there is an opportunity. There is an opportunity to collide these two worlds and to make together a greater social and economic impact. So I think there's other question after, but my heart today is that you don't feel, this is too hard for me, I can't afford, but you can go of this panel with call to action, with something to do and something that you can change in your everyday life and in your workplace.
Thank you. And now we get on to you, Allard van Hoeken. I'm really excited to introduce you because you embody one of the concepts we've developed this year with Who Cares Chronicles. I'm the founder of Who Cares. And you embody environmental intelligence in the meaning that you use both two elements, the sun, the light of the sun, and the ocean to work. Can you tell us more about that?
Yeah, that's correct. So I'm also a very passionate sailor, like Romain, and I've sailed some of the same oceans as he has, but I did it at a different velocity, at a lower speed than he did. I was more cruising, but I'm always, I was born on the water, basically. I've always been on the water, and my work has always been putting floating things in the water. And when you ask me about, or the previous table, about the last 15 years, for me the main impact, the main things was that the people have become more aware that we have to live with less impact on the planet. Because the impact that we make, the kind of resources we take in and what we throw out, this is really the basic of how many people a planet can sustain. And the other development I've seen is that wind energy and solar energy really have broken through. Cost-wise. They have become so cheap now, they have become cheaper than most of the old-fashioned fuels. And the third development is that wind moved offshore. At least it did in the Netherlands, which is quite a populated country. And if I look forward, what I would hope is that we're really going to aim for zero impact as a whole, recycle everything we do, and generate clean energy. And why is energy for me so important? Well, I think it's for all of us. Basically, after the air that we breathe, the food that we need, and the water that we drink, then on that list is energy in that high ranking, especially because we want the water to be clean, we want the air to be clean, and for food production, we also need a lot of energy. So I have 3 pictures brought with me. So I talked about the wind going offshore. I talked about the wind and the sun going through, and what happened is that we saw wind, so beautiful, clean resource of energy, but the people don't like to have it on the land. Nobody wants to have it in the backyard, so we saw a lot of protests, and now wind has become very successful going out to the ocean. But what we're also seeing, and is not as noticed as much, because solar energy is like in the 1 or 2% of total energy contribution, and already we're seeing a lot of protests against solar energy. So my philosophy is this is going to go to the sea as well. Because at the sea we have enormous amount of space. And we have to do it in such a way that it's good for nature. Can it be good for nature? Well, I hope so. And all the research that we're doing, because we're also a research leader in this area, shows that actually the minor impact is very little, almost negligible, because we only need a little bit of the ocean to get energy for all the people on the land. But the positive impacts are huge, and a lot of life is going to be there. Life is created there, life is protected there. Fish farms, I mean not farming, but fish is safe there. A lot of breeding occurs. If you look to the right picture, you see all this space in between the windmills. Well, that's a nice example of how we can actually combine the offshore solar with the offshore wind. So the next picture, please, shows that this is a schematic of how we can actually use the same space. And what people don't even realize is that these windmills are very far apart. And if you add solar, you're going to generate 5 times as much energy at the same little space at sea. And also you can use the same power infrastructure. And if I go to my last picture, this is our first system. So we installed it in the North Sea. We've been hearing for many years this is not possible. Solar panels in salt water, especially in high wave environment, this is not going to work. And we put it there in November, and we just made it bigger as well. So this may look small to you, and it is, but it's like the first aeroplane flying that only took 30 seconds, and it really changed the world. And I hope that with this solar energy at sea, that we're really going to change the world, because half of the world population lives near the sea, and we can supply clean energy to all these people, but also food production can be combined and nature can be stimulated. So I'm very excited to develop this. Thank you very much.
Thank you for showing us these beautiful photos. My question to you, Romain, I'll say it both in French and in English. Quel est le plus grand challenge pour une entreprise qui veut faire de la tech for good ou qui veut innover pour le bien? What is the greatest challenge for someone who wants to innovate for good? Because the main topic of this is also, of course, what I would love to see is the iPhone version of the good for the next 15 years.
Yeah, it's a tricky question, I think, because we all have in mind that with tech we want to go further, and we often have in mind that innovation means new, create something new, and as you say before, new can be reusing something which existed before. So tech for good for me is a bit tricky. We must pay attention in order not to have too much consumption. This is today we are facing huge challenges. Resources are limited. We overuse these resources on Earth. So we have to think a different world. So the change now is the right time, right place, probably. And we must give examples, and more than give example, act, because we are the generation of the people who need to act to change the world. So we must think differently. Tech can be benefit for having new ideas, making new things, and it doesn't mean that we will be back in the old 50s or more, but we can do great things with reusing.
With circularity.
Exactly.
And so on use it again. So if I'm like, for the audience here today, if they want to apply use it again to their, so we don't have all like a Trimaran and we can take to sea, but how can we have the use it again mentality with day-to-day life?
What I like very much as an entrepreneur with circular economy is, first, it's an economy. It is proven that it works, but we need to make much effort for make it work. We need to think a lot, have good ideas, make our brain work a lot.
Yep.
And the first step of circular economy is reducing. We're in a world of we want to use as much as maximum. It was said before, we use the 4x4 wheels to go in cities, etc., etc. And we must pay attention daily with our consumption. And our individual consumption will have a consequence in companies as well. I think people are intelligent enough to act in their daily life, at home, and in companies.
Different way.
So the reduce of consumption is the very first step, which is absolutely essential.
Reduce and reuse. Matina, when we exchanged, you and I, the first time, you told me the story of a young man. Could you share that story with us?
Yes. To give a context about this story, is that basically we are giving soft skills and digital skills to people from precarious background. Precarious mean normally they don't have access to training, and they live with with less than €1 per day. And so we have trained more than 100 talents. And this is the story of Cédric. Cédric, which is one of the first talent. And before Sayna, he was in a school and he did not have money. So what he was doing is that every week he saved money to go to the cyber cafe at the end of the week. And when he was on the cyber cafe, he was just downloading some tutorial. And with that, he trained himself. And after that, he came to Sayna. We trained him. We give him soft skills and digital skills, and we place them in a company called Access Bank, which is a bank in Madagascar. And he's the first person who have developed a chatbot in a bank. And today he's talking with the CEO of the bank, and he's really happy. And the thing that we do with him has changed his life. And I think that is something that everyone can do. Everyone can do when I talk about innovation, social innovation. And we realize that our African talent doesn't need your money. They don't need your help or your pity. They just need that you give them a chance to shine, and to show to you that they have skills and they can respond to your digital needs.
Excellent. And very inspiring. I'm going to ask you all three to give me two things. The first thing is, what is the best piece of advice you were given when you started this initiative? Because it's a bit challenging. So what was the best piece of advice you were given?
That's a bit hard to say. We got so many advice. Well, basically,
if you had to just pick one, the one that got you here, if you had one.
yeah, basically just to get going. Focus. If you believe that you can make this work, just go out and make it work. And really don't listen to all the people that's going to tell you that it's not possible, because that's what you're going to hear most of the time. And yeah, for example, what I'm working on, it is really possible. So I'm very grateful for that advice.
And since we're in 2020, and we, as I said, we have a ticking clock happening around us, and we're reminding of time so much. I'm actually being reminded of it as we speak with that clock right there. What would you say would be the best tool to achieve the success you want to achieve for 2020? What was your 2020 vision tip in one word?
I was given to make it till this year, let's say?
The one that you have, yeah.
Focus. Focus on the things that's most important to you. And one little thing about Romain said, because I agree that right now we need to save our consumption and we need to really watch our consumption. But I really believe in a world where we don't have to anymore. And my example is solar energy. Once we have placed so much energy generation that's fantastic, that's fully clean, you're actually going to have abundance. You're going to have abundance of energy. You don't need to use less water, no, because you got free energy from the sun, and you can make sweet water from the sea, and the energy will warm your water. So once we have moved to this new phase, we're going to have really abundance. And I think that's a nice picture to have, besides the typical put your heater a little bit colder and shower less. No, I believe it's going to be the opposite. But in the current system, I agree.
30 seconds, you got one best advice, one 2020 vision tool.
Resilience for a sportsman, I think.
Yes.
It's an evidence, but I mean, I proved it on my race, and resilience for any project you lead.
And the tool, a tip or tool for your 2020 vision, what you think is the most needed for you?
Get back to nature.
Good one. Thank you for that one. How about you, Matina? The best advice you were given and the tool for 2020 vision going forward?
Okay, be courageous to do something that someone has never done before, maybe in your company, and work with us, work with the African talent. Thank you.
Thank you so much, everybody. I'll invite you all to follow the light and the star, whatever that may be. Thank you.